welcome to the Go Legal Yourself podcast. This show is about knowing the legal life cycle of your business. Welcome to the Go Legal Yourself podcast, episode 6, title, Contractor versus Employee. I'm your host, attorney Kelly Bagla, the queen of business law. You can interact with us on social media at Go Legal Yourself, and do find us on the web at baglalaw.com. Today, I am joined with my Director of Marketing. How are you, Sally?
I'm fine. How are you, Kelly?
I'm always fantastic, thank you. Well, I'm excited about this topic that we're going to be sharing with our audience.
What is it?
It's the most common question asked by business owners. It's always a huge confusion about, should I hire a contractor or should I hire an employee? As an attorney, I am frequently asked about what is the difference between an independent contractor and an employee.
What is a contractor?
Well, if you get this part wrong, it can really cost you penalties, fees, fines, taxes, and yes, business owners, it can actually put you out of business. Think about that for a second. If you hire a contractor and that contractor really should have been an employee, that could really put you out of business. So, Sally, you were saying, what is a contractor?
Yes.
Well, a contractor is a person or a business that you hire to provide you services under a contract. For example, it could be a website development company. It could be a marketing person. So in our situation, I'm an attorney and I do not do marketing. I do not create my own website. So for those types of services, since I'm not doing those in-house, I would hire someone just to do those projects for me. That would be a prime example of hiring an independent contractor. With an independent contractor, they are not subject to employment laws. Yes, that's correct. They are not subject to employment laws. They are free to provide the same work for others. So they're not under contract for a non-solicitation, which means that when somebody does work for you, they are not allowed to do work for anyone else. That's a huge distinction as business owners. I'm sure in your line of work too, Sally, that you have had multiple businesses at one point, and I'm sure that you haven't done everything yourself. You have hired people to do that.
Yes, exactly. We've done that and had a contractor's agreement with them.
And it's usually project by project.
Yes, it is.
And the other big thing is that as an employee, as the person that's hiring, as an employer rather, as the person that's hiring the independent contractor, you are not allowed to withhold taxes from their paycheck. So when somebody says to you it's going to cost X amount of dollars to do X project, you pay them X amount of dollars. You don't withhold any taxes from that. The other big thing with an independent contractor is that they are responsible for paying their own taxes. That's why you do not withhold taxes from their paycheck.
What is an employee?
So an employee is a person that you would hire as a company. They are subject to employment laws. As anyone out there that have hired employees, they can attest to the multitude of laws that actually apply to employees, especially in the great state of California. Aren't we lucky to live here, Sally?
Oh, yes. Sunny skies and lots of taxes.
Plus lots of laws too, exactly. And you and I, we absolutely pay for the weather.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So this great state of California, it has its employment laws, and they are multitude of laws. As a business owner, you are required to know those. Did you know that?
No. Yes, I did, actually. Yes.
Well, as a business owner, Sally, do you have time to go to law school and learn the employment laws that are going to apply to you as the employer?
No, I don't. That's why I hire a lawyer.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that business owners don't know the employment laws, and 99% of them don't. It's not their job to. But they need to know some of the basics when you're hiring employees. So the employee works directly under the control of the employer. An independent contractor does not. The employee usually gets paid through payroll. The independent contractor does not. The employer withholds taxes so they can pay the payroll taxes on behalf of the employee. The independent contractor does not.
Why would I hire an independent contractor versus having an employee?
As business owners, we all are aware of something small that's called a budget. Are you familiar with a budget, Sally?
Oh, yes, very much.
So are you telling me that you weren't born with money bags and you didn't marry Mr. Moneybags?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as business owners, we are all on a budget when we first start out. Unless, again, you've got your wealthy, rich uncle that lives in Portugal and he can fund your business. If you don't have that, and I'm assuming our audience doesn't have rich uncles that live in Portugal. So, when you're first starting out, you are on a budget. If you hire an employee right out of the gate, you are going to be very, very shocked with the expenses that are associated with an employee. So you have payroll, you've got payroll taxes, you have health care that you have to pay, you have employee benefits that you're responsible for. So when you're first starting out, hiring an independent contractor would be a fantastic way to use an independent contractor. One, they can provide you with a set budget. They can provide you with a certain amount of money per project. And when you need to do the same work over and over again, that's when you need to consider hiring an employee. When a business owner first starts out, hiring an independent contractor would be extremely beneficial for their pocketbook.
How do I stay on the legal side of hiring an independent contractor?
So, along with everything else, hiring an independent contractor also has its legal requirements. The definition of an independent contractor isn't just one. That's shocking, isn't it, Sally?
Oh, wow, yeah, it is.
We have multitudes of government agencies, and each agency has their own definition of what an independent contractor is, just to make it extremely difficult for the business owner. So you have the IRS rules, you have the franchise tax rules, you have the EDD rules, and this is the shocking part. All of those three different government branches, not one of them has a similar definition as to what the other one wants. So what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Oh, man, I'd be really confused.
Like our business owners are. It can get very, very confusing. So the simplest way to make sure that you are hiring an independent contractor and you are actually treating them like an independent contractor, because as I said earlier, if you hire an independent contractor and you're supposed to be hiring an employee, you could honestly lose your business. That could lead you to bankruptcy, because as a business owner, you don't have a pool of money that you can dip into every time the government sues you, every time the government wants you to pay extra taxes, every time the government wants you to pay fines because you didn't treat the independent contractor as an employee. I'm sure you don't have one of those pools, do you, Sally?
No, I do not. No, I do not.
Exactly. I certainly don't have one of those pools either. So we're going to keep it extremely simple for our audience, and we're going to lay out some of the definitions, if you will, so the business owners can distinguish between how to treat an independent contractor as an independent contractor. So first and foremost, the business owner cannot have control over the contractor's work.
Oh, okay.
So what do I mean by that?
Yes.
If I was going to hire someone to do my website, I could not direct them and say, this is how you create a website for me, All I can say to them is that this is the vision that I have of a website. This is the end product. Now you go away, create it, and come back to me. That's what I mean by the employer cannot have control over the way the contractor does his or her work.
You can only guide them, correct?
Well, you can tell them what you are looking for, and it's up to them to go away and figure it out for you.
Right.
The business owner cannot set hours or demand set hours from a contractor. Now, think about that one. You cannot demand certain amount of hours from a contractor. What you can say is, okay, Sally, I'm going to hire you to do some production work for me, and my budget only allows 5 hours a week. Those 5 hours are completely up to you as to when you want to use those. But that's the extent of the input from the business owner. Contractors must use their own tools. So if I was hiring you, Sally, to do some production work for me, I would say, I'm assuming, Sally, since you do this type of work, you have your own cameras and videos and recording equipment.
Exactly. That's true. Very true.
So if you're going to treat your independent contractor as an independent contractor, they must use their own tools. The most important of all of this is that make sure you have an agreement with the independent contractor. Make sure you have an agreement. If you don't have an agreement, guess what? The IRS, the EDD, the Franchise Tax Board, they're going to come in and say, oh, well, Mr. Business Owner, you were supposed to be treating them like a contractor, but you don't have an agreement with them, so we're just automatically going to say that they're your employee. That would be so devastating.
That you would then have to pay all the taxes on that employee and all the back work too, correct?
Absolutely, because with an employee, the employees, remember, they are under California law, they are allowed to take certain breaks, they are allowed to take a certain amount of lunch, and if you don't police any of this, then the government agencies will come in and they will put their own hours in. Again, I have seen this over and over and over again. Certain mistakes like this is a big one. This type of mistake can put a business out of business. It can bankrupt you, and you haven't even started yet. So make sure you have a contract with your independent contractor. You must also make sure that you issue the independent contractor a 1099, not a W-2. Let me repeat that one more time. An independent contractor receives a 1099 once the work is completed for you, not a W-2. So how do you feel about that topic now, Sally? Do you think you know a little more?
I learned a lot today. Yes, even though I know a lot, some of this, I didn't know all of that, and it really helped me. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel that we are little by little sharing these nuggets of wisdom with our audience, our business owners, and it is truly our passion to make sure that you do succeed. So remember, the only way you become successful is if you make today the day you go legal yourself. I am Attorney Kelly Bagla, the Queen of Business Law. It has been a pleasure being your host today. Until next time, cheers to your success.